Moses had a prayer that was put in the form of a psalm. And in it, he made some requests to God. But there's a couple of verses in that I believe might be useful today. It's that 90th Psalm, and in that when you get to that 12th verse, he says, "So teach us to number our days, so that we might apply our hearts to wisdom." And then that 14th verse, and I like there's one translation that talks about shower us with blessings, so that we may rejoice even in our years now. And somehow you look at that psalm, it seems to revolve around those verses, and Moses' request is just teach us how to live day by day. Teach us how to live day by day. So in that 12th verse he says, "So teach us." So is saying as a result of that, since this is so. And what he has done, he establishes the fact that human life is brief. And the truth of the matter is it's a lot shorter than we like to think it is. And oftentimes we don't even think of those the priorities we ought to have with life until we reach a time such as this. Because we take so much of life for granted that we think there'll always be time for this and time for that, enough time to say this, enough time to get this right. You know, we take so much for granted, and yet Moses establishes in this prayer the fact that human life is brief. You know, not many years ago, someone began to reflect on this notion, and they came up with the idea that perhaps we should do a bucket list and establish for ourselves some goals that we want to achieve before we leave this world. But you know, I'm thankful that Moses didn't ask God for a bucket list. But what he was asking in his prayer is to teach us how to live day by day. Knowing the brevity of life. Teach us how to handle day by day. And he says, and shower us with blessing so that we can live and enjoy the days you give us. Can I suggest to you that the difference between the bucket list and Moses' prayer is the relationship you have with God. You see, if I don't know what happens after I leave this life, I need a bucket list. If I don't know what comes next, I need a bucket list. That way I'll be able to say, no matter what happens tomorrow, I've enjoyed my yesterday. Wasn't Moses' prayer? No. Help us, God, to appreciate the brevity, the shortness of life, so that we can live our lives here day by day. It's always amazing to me that people that don't always get along when death gets close get along. People that don't have much to say when death get close get talkative. Because it suggests to us that we don't want to grab hold of the fact that we won't be here forever. I don't care what size your 401k is. If you plan it right, it's going to be here when you're gone. There's something about grabbing hold of your own mortality that make you think about your actions. Make you think about how you respond to certain things. Something about knowing that I'm not going to be here forever. So it says to me, the request he's asking is, so God give us hearts of wisdom that we can offer back this life we have to you. Make us wise in how we live. Day by day. Help us to make good decisions. Not thinking that I have forever to fix it, but thinking this may be the last one I make. Teach us, teach us, teach us, teach us. Give us hearts of wisdom so that our walk will be pleasing in your sight. So that what we do tomorrow, if you give us tomorrow, will reflect that we understood something today. This is the prayer. Yes, sir. Talking about how life is so fleeting, how quickly it goes. And we all have what we call the shock. Shock is one of those stages of grief. It doesn't matter if a person hooked up to machines for 2 or 3 years and the family been called in and out. When you finally get the word, there's something in it that's a shock. Well, you're right, man. It suggests to me that we have not yet grabbed hold to the mortality that we have, and we have not yet decided that we're going to line up with Moses here and say, Lord, teach me to live day by day. One of those old prayer moans. If I don't wake up in the morning, everything gonna be all right. But the question is it just a prayer moan, or is that really your philosophy? Well, can I say a couple things that I'll be through? I believe the first thing we have to just grab hold to is the fact that our life is what we're living right now. You see, too often we thinking about how we're going to live as though our life is somehow somewhere in the future here on earth. But our life is what we're living now. Because nothing is promised past now. So whether you agree with Moses' prayer, whether you got a bucket list, let me just suggest don't put things off too long. Because so often it all boils down to one or two things, and that is, boy, you know, she used to be or she always wanted to be. Lord, teach us to live day by day. I found out I treat people people better when I'm not too sure how much longer I got to live. I put it with crazy folks a whole lot better. When I think about my own mortality and think about I won't be here always, so it ain't going to bother me to put up with this foolishness just for a little while. Sometimes we just need an introspective, an inside look at us. Because if we take a little time to look inside us, we won't spend so much time looking at somebody else. Lord, teach us to live. When he said, teach us to number our days. You see, when you start putting numbers on your days, when you come to the conclusion that my days are numbered, my attitude is better. I'm not acting like I'm all that in a bag of chips when I know my days are numbered. Because I understand that when this fair life is over, somewhere I must stand and give an account of myself. And I thank God I have enough sense to understand that my account has nothing to do with how you treat me. Everything to do with how I treat you. You see, when your days are numbered, your priorities line up all by themselves then. It's when we think we're going to be here for another 120 years. But you can't get into Moses' prayer if you don't have the relationship with the one that Moses was talking to. You see, Moses had a burning bush experience. In other words, he heard about God for 80 years. But until he had that burning bush experience, he had to meet him for himself. And I know what I'm saying when I say he heard about it because before he left to take the message, he said, now who should I say sent me? It suggests to me that it was his first real meeting with God. After 80 years, I'm talking about the one who wrote the prayer. So he know who he's praying to because he had an encounter one day with this burning bush, and he had a conversation, and when he asked, who should I say sent me? Then the answer would suggest to him everything he needed. He didn't say, tell him Jehovah, tell him the Lord. He said, tell him I am that I am. Tell him I am sent you. I am the God who is. All that other stuff you made up. Lady Luck made up. Buddha made up. He said, I'm the only God. I am that I am. This is who Moses is praying to. And you can't get in line with his prayer if you don't know the one he's praying to. But I thank God he made it possible for everybody to have an encounter with the same one Moses had an encounter with. His name is Jesus. Old preacher said came down through 42 generations. Born in the little town of Bethlehem. Grew up to be a man, walk around doing nothing but good. Got arrested on praying ground. Carried from judgment hall to judgment hall. Wasn't found guilty of doing no wrong, but still the crowd said, crucify him. I'm talking about how you get to the one that was in the burning bush. So on Friday, they nailed him to a cross. He died that Friday. But he had a promise. He said, I got power to lay down my life, but I also got power to pick it up again. The question may be asked, well, why did it take 3 days to get the job done? Well, he had to leave here and come back. And I think he got hung up in customs. Because they asked some questions, and if you don't answer the questions right, then it takes a little longer. Somebody wants to know, what's your name? Well, on my mama's side, they call me Jesus. But on my daddy's side, I'm Emmanuel. Well, where you from? On my mama's side, I'm from Bethlehem. But on my daddy's side, I'm omnipresent. I'm from everywhere. Well, maybe let me ask you this. How did you get here? Well, on my mama's side, yesterday they crucified me. But on my daddy's side, tomorrow I'm getting up. I'm talking about the one that helped you get to, the one Moses praying to. I'm talking about Jesus. So on that third day, he got up and declared